dental podcast
where real people, real stories,
and real life come together.
This is the Life and Dentistry podcast.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Life and Dentistry podcast.
What's up, everybody?
What's up? Y'all listen to this.
What's up, guys?
Oh, my gosh.
Old six-shooter Joe over there.
Oh,
People are going to be
God.
listening to this thing. What in the world is that?
You got to see. Joe's got a green screen. I got to get me one of those.
I can't believe you didn't see it, man. I've had this for 2 weeks.
Well, you didn't have it the last show. I missed last week. He didn't have it before.
Have you not subscribed to the YouTube channel, Scotty?
I've been busy.
Oh, come on.
Oh, man.
Big Lou's working his tail off on the YouTube channel.
Oh, I know he is. Big Lou,
Man.
he's doing big things.
Man, I'm loving the intro. That's awesome, man. That's freaking awesome.
So how's everybody's week been?
It's been a long week. It's been good, but it's been long.
JW's got a little sidekick now, huh?
Yep.
Yeah.
Bash. It's been a long one, that's for sure.
That's crazy.
If you're watching the YouTube video, you can probably
How's
see
little Bash doing?
He's doing good. He's doing good. Let's see, what's today? Thursday. So he was born. Gosh, he was born a week ago. Yeah, a week ago. It's
Yeah.
So it's 8:42 here. So he was born.
Wow.
And and before you know it, he'll be 18, leaving house for college.
I know, man. I know. But yeah, it's so wild, man, that the pregnancy is 9 months, and like you think about, like, what's going to happen, but then when it happens, even though you're like preparing yourself, like you're still like caught off guard. You're like, oh my gosh, like this is like when you hold your baby, you're like, man, this is like my kid. What the heck? Like it's just so crazy.
Can you see yourself in him? Like when you look at him, can you notice like part of him looks like me?
So he favors he favors Sam probably like 90%.
When I went
So is it your baby?
And so on, the first thing John Wesley said, I walked into the hospital room and he's like, man, he's got a class 3.
No, class 2. Class 2.
Class 2.
He's got a class 2.
Class
Yeah.
2,
Yeah.
Joe.
Sam's got a pretty big overbite. Or I guess a deep bite.
Joe's got a green screen.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. I really can't explain it. I just know, like, everyone tells you, like, when you have a kid, you're not going to get any sleep, and life's going to change. And they're 100% right. Like, sleep has been really hard to come by because the baby eats like every 2 or 3 hours. So we're getting up and having to take care of it, and it's just, of course, when the morning comes, you can't sleep because you got stuff to do. So, but having said that, I wouldn't change a thing. I'm loving every second. So
That's cool, man. And
I have to say,
and Matthew had his
last week-
like the same day, pretty much, like less than 24 hours. You and Matthew both had your sons together. That's
yeah, I was
crazy.
in the hospital. So Samantha was, she had to get induced. So she was kind of at the beginning stages of that. And I get a text message, and he's like, I think Kaylee's water broke. I'm like, oh man. And sure enough, yeah, they go to the hospital, and yep. And then next day,
That's crazy.
yeah.
That's awesome though. I can't wait to meet them both.
I have to admit, last week I got to go and see your baby, John, and get to meet Bash, and that was pretty cool. I have to admit, I'm of the mindset that not all babies are born cute, but yours is pretty cute, man. I have to admit, you got a cute baby.
Dang,
I
Lou,
appreciate it,
you've
man.
seen him too? Golly. I guess I gotta make a trip up to Tennessee.
Yeah, Scotty's gonna have to
yeah.
bite the bullet and travel up north.
Yeah, man. Scotty,
Well,
you don't have to
I
quit
was
being
there today.
being so reclusive, man.
Well, I'll be up there in
Big Joe.
less than a month, I guess, or about a month
Yeah, that's
for
true.
the
Big
implant
Joe,
course.
though, he's the only man on earth who got to see Baby Bash and Lil Knox all within 24 hours. Isn't that right, Joe?
That's right. Big Uncle Joe. Or is it Uncle Big Joe? What is
Uncle Big.
Uncle Big Joe.
You'll forever go down in history as the only man to do that. So,
Fellas,
Man.
how's dentistry going for y'all? Y'all getting any better at it?
Is that a trick question?
It's a real question.
No, it's going good. It's going good. I'm settling in with the pace of private practice now. It's okay. Of course, every day I'm still seeing new things that I've never seen before, but it's getting easier every day. With every week that passes, I'm getting more and more comfortable. And John Wesley hit he was right when he said a couple weeks ago on the episode when he was like, I've been doing this for how many weeks have you been doing it, John Wesley, now? How many weeks have you been in private practice?
6 maybe.
Yeah.
6
Yeah,
or
I think
7,
it might have been
maybe.
a couple of weeks ago. You were like, this is the first week, that I started that I wasn't really nervous. And I'm starting to get to that point now. Everything's familiar now. I know the flow of the office, and I got my routine down now, and
You getting your confidence down now?
my confidence is getting better. Even when I see things that I've never seen before, it doesn't faze me as much as when I first started.
Me too.
I'm a lot more calm, so I feel like mentally I'm able to, my mind's not racing as much, and I can approach it and actually figure out what to do in most cases,
Because what to do. I mean, if you've not seen it before, you know what you need to do.
Yeah.
Or you know where to go find the information.
Yeah, I agree.
You just
So
gotta slow
it's
down.
going good though. I'm enjoying it.
But let me ask you guys this. So we're talking about kind of, the field of dentistry and all that. So I kind of encountered something totally new this week for me, obviously, so I took the week off from the office because obviously we had a baby. And leading up to this, me and my wife had kind of been talking about, okay, I think the maternity leave is like 6 weeks, right? I think that's for –
I don't know.
I think it's 6 weeks.
Is it 6 or 9 weeks?
Something like it's.
I don't know.
Yeah, I think at least 6. But anyway, so we were talking about, how much time am I going to take off and what am I going to do? And I was like, I really don't know. Because we were having a conversation about it, and I'm like, I'm not really sure how much time I'm supposed to take off. Like, I was talking to her about, I've got patients scheduled, and of course, I know obviously it's important, when you have your baby, you want to be there and all that good stuff. But I just didn't know how much time to take off, so I took a week off. But I mean, have you guys thought about stuff like that when it comes to taking time off? Like, what's like, I guess, needed and what's required and
Like in general, or like when I have a baby?
Well, I guess in my
Are
example,
you having a baby, Joe?
well, I mean, like, Scotty's about to have a baby, so he's going to go through that.
Big
And
Daddy
you
Joe.
guys will
Honestly,
soon, so-
I'll probably only take a week off. I'll probably take a solid week off when the baby's born,
Yeah.
and because I'm right up the road. I'm like 10 minutes to the practice, so I'll probably take a week off just to get adjusted and help Lauren out, and then I'll be back at work. So, I'll be right up the road if she needs me or anything.
I'm saving up a week to go to Key West for our spring break trip this year.
Yeah.
And I hope we can make that happen.
Do it.
Just do it. Don't say that. Just
Is it
Well,
baby friendly?
Wait, y'all got to let me know something. What are we going to do?
you tell us when you can do it, and we'll book it. We're going.
Go ahead and give me the dates, and I can put them in right now.
All right. Let us know, Big Lou.
March 28th.
All right. Let's go.
We got to have a place
Let's
lined
go,
up now.
Lou,
That's
how's,
easy.
Well, let's do it. I'm for real. Let's say in the
Let's go
next
then.
month, let's figure out where we're going to go. Let's go ahead and book it so I can put the dates in and get off.
all right, deal. Let's do it.
Key
Hey,
West,
Big Lou,
2018.
What's
What's up?
what's your
What's
first
up, Big
week?
Joe?
What's your first week like back from that implant course? Are you better surgically than you were when you left?
Haven't placed a single implant since I've been back. So implant-wise, not doing much
Do you-
better.
do you
but,
feel,
I've been
though,
doing
that
a lot of
after-
extractions?
Do you feel though that after placing 40 something odd implants, your knowledge of placing them has vastly expanded, and like you're way more comfortable?
Yes. Yeah. And the key word is really confidence.
Yeah.
Because once you see how to place 40 implants, you kind of get a good idea for how it's going to go.
Yeah.
And I'm confident to be able to do it. If you
and
have
I know
right
you talked about this on the last episode, but I kind of want to talk like one-on-one, just get your perspective.
So here's something I've been thinking about this week.
Nothing like practice.
So Lou, you're in a different situation where you're just doing surgical stuff with affordable. We're in a private practice setting where we're doing
dentures.
Yeah, and dentures. We're doing all kinds of dentistry. And I've heard people say this, especially some of the guys who've been in dentistry a long time. More the old school guys would say this. But do you have to be really proficient at all aspects of dentistry before you jump into the surgical implants? Or do you guys think that that is part of general dentistry now and we just need to learn it all together?
I think it should be a part of just, it should be a part of every practice, just like learning how to cut a crown. Honestly, because I think, implants are the future of dentistry.
Why do you think why is it made out to be a little bit bigger of a deal? Why do some people say you need to be good at all of dentistry before you can go place implants? What do you guys think?
Well, I think a lot of it. Not knocking the oral surgeons. I love them and they're great guys, but a lot of oral surgery, from what I've found, a lot of them don't agree with general dentists placing implants for one reason or another, and I think that's what's that, Lou?
My opinion is that if you're a general dentist and you've taken the time to actually study, to learn, to do the courses, and you take it upon yourself to get credentialed, to do the hours and to do the education that's required, I don't see why not. I also don't see a correlation between you being really good at doing a class 2 filling and being able to place an implant. It doesn't really go together.
I agree.
But what I'm saying is what I don't agree with though is just if somebody's a general dentist and they're like, I want to start doing implants because I want to start making more money, but they're not investing in their education and they're just buying all this stuff and then they're just seeing people opening them up and then just putting implants all over the place. That I don't agree with.
Yeah, you bring up a really good point.
You got to know what you're doing. You can't. I'm not going to do crappy work.
What do you bring up a really good point, Lou. I was thinking about this week because I was thinking like, what motivates me to be a better dentist? What motivates me to go in every day and want to push hard? And for me, I never do I go into the office thinking about money. Do I go into doing dentistry thinking about, I can make money doing this? It's all about how can I push myself to be the best dentist for these patients? And that's the same thing with implants. I'm offering implants right now pretty much free. Just bare bones, whatever it costs to place an implant, just because I need the experience and want to do it.
Well, so are you placing implants, Joe?
I'm hoping to have some cases lined up by next month. I want to place a few before I go to Moody's course.
So the docs you're working with, they place them and they're just going to kind of assist you?
Pretty much. Dr. Brian does. Yes.
Okay.
Well, man, it's like if you were going to do a treatment, like if it was me, and I feel like we all would kind of be in the same boat. If you have the option, let's say like there's no medical, you're not medically compromised, there's no issues, it's just like the average patient, and you either can get a bridge or an implant. I'm going to want an implant, So, That's kind of like, to me, that's the best option. So not that everybody has to place implants, but one way that I kind of see it is that if we think that's the best option, then that kind of needs to be in our backpack, so you can offer that.
I mean, yeah. Just like Dr. Moody says, they don't even offer partials or dentures because it's subpar, work compared to having actual implants. I mean,
and
that's all they offer because that's the gold standard.
Right, and it's not saying that those treatments are bad, but
The bottom line.
But I see what he means.
You're an expert. Bottom line is you're an expert and you're a doctor and your patient's coming to you for a solution and some options. And your job is not to judge them based on how they look or what they drove or, what you think their finances are. Your job is to give them the options. And you say, this is the best options. And you give them the ability to say no because it's financially unreasonable or they just don't want it. I think as a dentist, your job is to give them what the best options are. And if they can't do that, then you look at other options. Yeah,
but you let them know that, that if you pick this option, it's going to come with its shortcomings. It's not the gold standard, but, as long as you just let them know, all their options and all the ups and downs of each procedure. I think that's as general dentists, that's our job, but I always start out with the gold standard. Like if I was in that chair, what would I want,
So if y'all, when you guys are treatment planning and doing stuff, we've been in this like maybe a month, 2 months. Have you had anything where you treatment plan something? Maybe it was a restoration that was questionable, placed by someone else, or a filling that was kind of a smaller cavity. You thought it was going to be bigger, and then you get into it and you're like, man, I really wish I wouldn't have done that because, for one, it's too hard to restore, or for two, what they had in there wasn't that much better than what I'm doing. Have you seen anything come through yet like that?
You're saying like you were like replacing a restoration maybe?
Yeah, like you replaced one and like you're like, oh, this is a bad restoration. And then you get in there to redo it.
For what?
And you're like, man.
Why did you replace it?
So for me, the example I'm thinking of, it was like a big amalgam that had a huge overhang. It was kind of low, kind of subgingival. And I'm like, that really needs to be replaced. Like that's going to cause a perio pocket and it's a big food trap. So I replaced it, but it was the hardest.
Well, how long was that amalgam there?
I don't know, long time. But I'm just saying it was one of the hardest things I ever restored. And so you have a different mindset about restoring things. Like, man, maybe there was a reason that restoration wasn't that good. The environment was kind of difficult.
I've had a couple kind of like that, maybe not necessarily replacing a restoration, but I had one that comes to my mind like right now that was in dental school. And it was a patient that we wound up not redoing the filling. So what happened was he had a big, let's just say it was like an MO or like a DO amalgam. Okay. And it was like not that big of a filling, but the amalgam, what you're saying, subgingival, was really deep. Okay. And on the bite wing, I mean, you could tell it was deep.
Mm-hmm.
And when I first looked at it, I'm like, that's got an overhang. We need to fix that. Because what you said, like, that's what stood out to me. And this is probably been 2 years ago now. The covering doctor then was kind of looking at it with me and sort of talking about, well, what you just said was a good point. Like, there was probably there may be a reason that it's got that overhang, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And he started talking, because on the bite wing, things are more parallel. You can see things even like that. And it was very, very deep. And he made a good point. Like, you could try to take this out and fix it and maybe solve the overhang. But what if you take that out and you make it worse? Or, like a can of worms that's more than what's actually there.
Dude, that's it right there.
Well, no, I don't care how good a dentist you are. If you're removing an amalgam, you're going to remove some more tooth structure, no matter how careful you are.
Well, what the problem was, it was so deep subgingivally.
Yeah.
Like the band, you'd have to you'd cut the opposite side.
It would be real. Just.
That's when you need a crown, really. The only way to get a
Yes.
good flush, good, clean margin is a crown. The best advice that I've gotten and the best thing I've learned in private practice is if you don't know for certain that what you're going to do is better than what they have, don't go in there and do it because you're doing a disservice.
And never judge another doctor's work too. So
exactly,
because you don't know the circumstance.
You do not. That is the best thing.
And I think it was Coyce. I think that quoted. I'm trying to quote him when exactly what he said is, "Don't create solutions for problems patients don't have." So like, if that's an old filling and it's been working out fine, patient doesn't care. Why would you bring it up? Why would you change it?
Mm-hmm.
It's not a problem. You know what I'm saying?
But there is sometimes there is a fine line. Like all day long, you're looking at fillings when you're doing exams and you're making judgment calls on the longevity of these fillings. You know, it's like composites, they don't last forever. 8 to 10 years is the lifespan of a composite. I think is what they said. But it's like, these have been in there a lot longer than that. And it's like, when is that time?
Yeah. I mean, I can say I struggle with that a lot, when I see it.
Mm-hmm.
I guess, and maybe this is just, personally sort of what my professional clinical judgment call, but when I'm checking it, just if the overhang's there, for an example, and the margins are solid, like there's nothing soft, like it's got a solid landmark there, like, yeah, it's got overhang, but if the restoration's in there, it's holding up good.
Perio's good.
Yeah.
Pockets are good.
Yeah. I just watch it. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's watching. Yeah. That's our big.
Now, as soon as it becomes a problem, we'll address it. But if it's not an issue and I don't see any inflammation of the tissue, then we're just going to monitor it.
But you also get the patients who come in and they're like, I don't want these metal fillings in my mouth anymore. So to them, they're presenting you with a problem. Then, even if the restoration's solid, you can be like, well, we can give you some tooth colored fillings or some crowns and we can look at some other options.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
I'll say this, speaking of having the amalgams taken out, I had a patient in dental school, probably one of my favorite patients. Like how you get those people in your schedule, you enjoy when you see them on there, they easy to work with. But this person wanted all the amalgams taken out and composites put in. And we did that. I did that. And there was probably like 7 or 8. And they were not like deep or big. I think one of them maybe we had to redo a crown on. But when we replaced everything, this person had sensitivity on probably 50% of those fillings that I replaced. And we're talking like MODOs that were not close to the nerve,
dude.
And this probably gets into a whole nother conversation of sensitivity, but this is back at dental school. But anyways, what I learned from that is I'm very hesitant to ever do that again. But that was the patient's preference. They wanted that. They were given all the options about why we don't need to. You know what I'm saying? Like it was,
Okay, so here's the story.
That's a common problem, though.
I mean, honestly, I personally, I won't touch an amalgam. I won't take it out if there's no decay and no issue with it. I just have a problem with that because I'm causing more trauma to the tooth. I don't know. I have a hard time doing that.
I wouldn't do it now unless there was a reason,
Yeah.
But this is 2 years ago.
Well,
so I'm like, hey, yeah, sure.
But I understand though too. Like a lot of patients are really adamant about, I want these out. Yeah, it's just a hard call, because it's just hard for me to take out a perfectly good filling if there's nothing wrong with it.
I had a patient.
So hang on, John.
And they had
if a patient comes into your office, go ahead, Joe. My internet's so slow. I'm like 5 minutes behind you guys, and every time I say something, I'm in the past.
All right, you're good, Lou.
I don't even know what I was going to say anymore. So you're saying if a patient comes in your office and they have a whole bunch of amalgams and they ask you specifically, I want all these out, I want tooth colored fillings, you would be hesitant to do it because of that one experience you had in school that
Well,
didn't turn out so well?
I would still. So honestly, like I would do it if they wanted it done. You know, if it was something that they, I guess like it's kind of the same concept as if somebody wanted veneers. You know, like say they've got really good teeth, but they want a better smile. You know, like it's like, well, you could probably argue that you don't really need it, but patient wants it. So I would do it, but I just know I caused that patient a lot of headache because we took them out. You know, so in the back of my mind, it's kind of like I would not do it, but I would be a little more. I would really make sure, I guess what I'm trying to say is I would put a whole lot more emphasis on like this is what could happen. Like these are some things that can happen because I've seen it happen.
I
And
think
that
it has
these,
something to
and
do
that
with
these are
taking them
perfectly
out.
good restorations, and
this
we're strictly
patient I-
taking them out for cosmetic reasons, or
Right,
just
yeah.
because you don't want them.
What about
Yeah.
putting gluma in there when you're prepping? Because you have some docs talk about, oh, my technique, I never get any.
We put gluma on every
any
restoration we do.
post-op sensitivity.
So,
Well,
And what's your success been?
okay.
well,
let me-
so with gluma, I'll say this at the practice. I may knock on wood. This may jinx everything I've done, but I've yet to have anyone have post-op sensitivity with composite in the practice. But we use
there you go.
we use gluma. Like we love gluma. So
Like water.
yes.
Okay, I had this patient come in. They just had interproximal decay on like, I don't know, 15 and 18 or something. And they had an existing amalgam. I go in, the amalgam was occlusal. And I go in there to make like an MO, and I take the occlusal amalgam out. I get the interproximal decay out, which was pretty small. It wasn't a lot. But you had to take that amalgam out too. I took it out, replaced the filling. She came in 4 times with post-op sensitivity. The first 2 times it was high. The second 2 times it was sensitive. I finally took the filling out, put a base and a liner down and a glass ionomer in there, and was like, let's just let this tooth try to settle down for a little bit. She came in. I go in the front office today. She's in the waiting room.
That's not what you want.
I look
that's,
at my,
that's not the way to start the day off.
I look at my assistant. I'm like, what the crap is she doing here again? And I feel bad. I mean, I'm not mad that she's there. I feel bad. I wish it wasn't bothering her. But she was actually on the other doctor's schedule. So I guess she called and was like, I want another doctor to do this or something.
Man.
I don't want that
So I
young
went-
kid anymore.
I went
Oh,
to
man.
Dr. Brian.
It's
I
funny
told
that
him
you say that, Lou.
I
I'm
was
I'm
like,
s-
I told you about this patient that I kept trying to replace his filling, and he was like, yeah, it happens. So he saw her too. The filling looks great. He's like, yeah, it's kind of close to the nerve. He gave her a Medrol dose pack to try to slow down the inflammation and get her out of
Yeah.
pain a little bit. But
Yeah.
what do you do?
I'm still
Here's some
struggling
Marco.
with the young thing. Like I had a girl I was working on today. She like 5 minutes into my exam, she's like, so is this a joke or are you really a dentist? Because I've never seen a dentist that's this young. You look like you just graduated high school. I'm like, what? And she's like,
Scotty's like, you gotta be effing kidding.
There's-
she
There's a
actually
solution
said that.
for
She's
that.
like, have you actually thought of like dyeing your hair gray and growing a big beard because
No.
you look so young? And I get that a lot. I think it's just because it's a smaller area. Like nobody around here is used to having a dentist that's 28 years old. You know, they're all used to 40 plus. You know,
I walked
And
into a hygiene room. and
it
the
just
man-
blows my mind. I'm like,
He's like,
I'm not
"How
that
old are you?"
young. You know.
It's time to grow a beard, man. Remember that winter beard you had going?
Yeah.
Bring it back.
Joe, you were
Oh,
talking
man.
about occlusion there, Joe. You said the bite was high on that patient.
Well, that's how it started. But what the real problem is just sensitivity in the filling. But it started out as it was high. Yes.
Come on, Joe. I taught you better than that. You know, you never leave it high. If
Hey, I'll tell you
anything, take
this,
it out of
pull it
occlusion.
and drop in a free implant.
Lewis only
Oh,
thinks
man.
screws over there.
Free implant.
Lewis has one tool in his tool.
Hey, Lou, do you remember how to do a filling?
Lewis will never touch composite again.
Oh, you have is
Yeah,
your
dude.
tooth is sensitive? Here, let me
I
pop
tell
an
you what,
implant in
Lou.
there.
Some days I'm fooling with that composite.
Complimentary implant.
That's right.
Some days I'm like, I wish I was Lou right now because golly, this is a headache.
Yeah, you know how people do those little they have those specials if you're a new patient, you get your cleaning, X-ray exam, and all that for this fee. Like Lou's gonna be like, you get your cleaning, your X-rays and all that, plus with a complimentary implant too.
Yeah.
Your
We'll clean
choice.
We'll clean your teeth and we'll
Full head of
pull it for you.
Oh man. Oh gosh.
So, are you guys having any patients kind of freaking out about this eclipse coming up?
I hadn't had anybody say anything to me, but
I wouldn't say freaking out. I mean, we've been talking about it, but
A
nothing.
guy yesterday, he wouldn't schedule another appointment until after Monday because he's afraid that the good Lord's coming back on Monday.
the rapture's coming back.
Yeah.
I don't know. It might, but you never know. Nobody knows. That's what the good book says.
Got to be ready. Yeah, you got to be
You
ready.
got to be ready though.
All I know is don't look straight into it without those
Yeah,
sunglasses.
don't go
Yeah,
blind.
because
they
if
have
the
to
Lord
be the
doesn't
right
come back and we're here 10 years from now, your butt's gonna be blind.
Oh man, I don't know if on your disability policy if it's like solar eclipse blindness. I don't know if that's covered or not. So,
Yeah.
Hey, go ahead, buddy.
Freak accident.
well, so like I was saying earlier, I've been off this whole week, so I haven't been in the office. But this was last week. I had a really interesting day. So I think it was last Monday and Tuesday. Anyways, I had there was a week where I had like quite a few crowns back to back. And anyways, last week, Monday and Tuesday, I had all these crown delivery appointments. So this is along with checking hygiene and all that. I had 3 crown deliveries on Monday and 3 crown deliveries on Tuesday, all individual to separate patients. And I
What a beast.
think the majority were zirconia, and I don't know if this is like, I guess, breaking it down to a production per hour or whatever, if you want to think about it like that, how much time was spent on it. But I spent a lot of time on these adjustments of these crowns. And I felt like every single one was tight. Like the contacts were very tight.
Were these sent to a lab or were they scanned and milled in the office?
They were sent to a lab. Yeah, we're not. We don't have that.
What are you laughing at, Joe?
Ask it on purpose. You know.
No, I didn't. I'm asking.
No, we sent them to a lab. And now, having said that, I'm not
There's
really.
nothing wrong with that.
I'm not really complaining.
That's
and
great.
I don't want to sound like I'm complaining about their contacts were tight, but it was real busy. The days were busy. I had another patient beside this one, like together. So I'm trying to get this crown in, like it just will not go down. Like the margins are not touching, but it's the interproximal contacts. So I'm having to adjust, and it's zirconia. So I mean, you've got to get
that thumb up, boy.
You got to get who knows what to reduce it. You go through diamonds like crazy. So I don't know. It was kind of frustrating. Back-to-back days. I was kind of looking forward to seeing that on my schedule, but then it was like I couldn't get anything to fit.
Yeah.
And when I did it,
Sounds like a lab issue.
Well,
See,
what I told,
and I haven't had a conversation. I guess my question was going to be like, have you guys had any conversations with your lab? I guess if you use a lab, and kind of how do you do that? I guess do you say, hey, my contacts are too tight? But then again, I don't want to say that and get like light contacts and then have to send it back because there is no contact.
You write on your lab form and you send it initially to the lab. And I was taught this in dental school by Dr. Harrison, actually, because I was having that same trouble. He showed me, he drew on the lab form and he kind of showed his lab where he wants his contacts, like for every one of his teeth. Like when he sends teeth to his lab, he wants the contacts really broad, but still kind of light. So usually they'll give you that kind of point contact that's really tight. He'd rather have a broad one that's kind of, medium size where you still have that, where it's still touching, but you're not grinding on it to seat it.
So, John, those crowns, I guess you want to find out if they're coming all from the same lab. And then B, did you have issues with all of them? And was it the same issue?
Yes.
With it being tight.
Mm-hmm.
So these crowns, if they're CAD CAM, they're made digitally, and you can design how tight you want your contacts. If you're having issues with your contacts on every single one of your crowns, then they can easily adjust their settings on their designing software. It's easy. I mean, you just have to call them. Maybe they had a bad day. Maybe the thing was not calibrated. I'd talk to your doc and see if he normally has these issues too.
Yeah. I think he said a couple
too. Do you know
too,
if they're
where
CAD CAM, John Wesley, at the practice or the lab you're using?
I'm not sure. I guess honestly, I really don't know. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Normally, zirconia crowns are milled. So yeah, most likely.
Most likely, yeah, probably
Yeah.
so.
No, I mean, that's a good point. I don't, and like this isn't anything. I mean, the lab's been great, It's just, it seemed like instead of just having like one crown, they were back to back to back and back to back days, and it was like the same thing. I'm like, man, this is so frustrating because I've got two hygiene that's ready for a check, and I'm still I'm waiting on my other patient who I just gave anesthesia to get ready to start that, and I'm trying to get this crown to fit, and it's like, it was frustrating because I seen that on my schedule the next day after Monday, and I'm like, man, I hope today goes better than Monday, and it really didn't. I mean, it was the same issue.
I think the key there is just communicating with the lab. I think that's kind of something that's tough coming out of school. We didn't really have a lot of chance to communicate with the lab. We don't really know how. We actually had a guy, Philip Gold, his dad actually started oral arts in Atlanta, came to our practice, or I met him, and we were just talking about random stuff, and then we were talking about labs and communicating with labs, and where he did it for so long in that business. His thing was, the more that you can call the lab and communicate to them what you want, the more information you can provide, the better it'll be. But sometimes for us, I don't think we really know what we want yet because we've not seen the options. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I mean, you can always take away, like you can't really add, like on site, unless I guess you got a lab there. But, so I guess if I had to, I don't want it to seem like I'm really complaining about the contact, because I guess I'd rather have it a little snug than
no contact. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Because I had one that was
but those zirconia crowns, they take time when you're trying to grind on them.
Oh, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. Like I think, there's been a couple PFMs that I've delivered that just a couple adjustments and that thing's fitting right down. And I love zirconia, man. I really do. But when it comes to adjusting, man, sparks are going to fly.
Y'all still do PFMs?
Yeah, man. Ooh, hey, speaking of crowns.
Sometimes.
Here, speaking of crowns, let me tell this story. I don't think I've told it yet.
Dentistry?
So I was so I took an impression. I think this was actually last week too. I took an impression on a crown, maybe number 18 maybe. And the patient had a crown already on number 19, okay? Well, I took this impression. The assistant grabbed it for me. I walked and checked hygiene, came back in the room, or came back in the side, and she kind of flagged me down, like because she had the impression ready to look at. And I look at it, and I see something. I see, of course, the impression, the prep on 18, and I look at 19, and I see something in the impression. I'm like, oh, man. And she's like, yep, that's the crown. So when I took that impression of 18, 19 came off in the impression.
Oh, man.
So I'm like, oh, my goodness. I'm like, how am I going to explain this? Like, the patient's in for one crown, and, the PVS pulled 19 off. I'm like, oh my.
Well, I would have told him, look, since that happened, that crown was coming off pretty soon. If it didn't come off today, it was going to come off.
The thing
soon.
was, like, I smoothed it over, talked to the patient, told him what happened. I said, hey,
Super glue it.
I was like, this tooth may be in bad shape. It came off for a reason. The cement we use is really good. It's been here for probably 15 years. But, I mean, the tooth was in good shape, no decay, everything. I checked the margins again. Everything was solid. So, I mean, I don't know. But it was one of those things where, man, my blood pressure just went through the roof because I was like, oh, my goodness. This is going to be really bad or really awkward. So, but it turned out good. But, anyways.
Yeah. I actually had an older lady come in at the beginning of the week, and of course she had her crown in her hand, and it broke off, and she had a core buildup, and the buildup material it was endo-treated tooth, but the buildup material, half of it was still in the crown, So initially I thought I was just going to make her a new crown, but finances were tight and all that. So I just got a burr. I dug out all the core material inside the crown and the intaglio there. And I put a post in it today and built it up with some rebuild. That's what we use. And but what I did though, we have glycerin. I put it in the intaglio of the crown. And so I'd use the rebuild. I'd build it up and I'd place it over while I wouldn't cure the buildup material. I just placed the crown over that and until I had it the correct height and all that, and then I'd cure it. So we were able to save this lady, $1,200 on the crown, and it fit perfect. And hopefully, it should last.
Did you scan that before or after you put the post in?
Come on now. See, I didn't have to scan anything. I'm looking out for my patients. So.
That's right.
But I put a post in and built it back up, and that was the first time I'd ever done that. Just like you're building up to where you think it is, and then you put the glycerin in the intaglio of the crown so that the buildup material is not going to stick, Joe. And then you're just molding. Placing it over the tooth itself, and then just molding the buildup material to the underside of the current crown, and it worked good. That was the first time I'd ever done that, but patient was really happy. We were able to use it because there was nothing wrong with the crown itself. Yeah, and but it turned out good.
Great work, Dr. Blanchard.
It worked, and you learn from it. I listened.
And I can sleep good tonight knowing that I did the right thing,
You did a good service. You guys should listen to this podcast called Order of Man Podcast. This guy has he talks about leadership, motivation, personal development and stuff. And he had this.
Is it similar to the Art of Manliness?
I've never heard of that one.
That's a good one.
That's a good one.
So he had this Navy SEAL on. And he was talking about strategies that they have to implement. And I think a lot of it kind of relates a little bit to us in dentistry and even in business. He said that, when they're training, when these guys first start in the Marines, they have these cold shots they have to do in the morning. Like they wake up and they go out and then with a cold gun, they have to go and hit this target. But they have however much time they want to do it. And he said these young guys would be out there just for minutes lining up this target, trying to get it just right and planning for it. But it would take them so long to pull the trigger. He said eventually what you have to figure out is that you have to go and make a plan quickly, but you just got to pull the trigger and do different things. That's the biggest thing I've learned. One of the biggest things I've learned in practice is we can plan you've got to make a plan, trust your instincts, trust your judgment, and just do it. It's like what you just talked about, Scotty, on that lady. Mm-hmm. You really weren't taught that anywhere.
No, you're just using bits and pieces of what you know, and it's like, well, this should work, I mean, she can't obviously afford a new crown. So, I mean, what's the other option? I really don't want to take out the rest of this tooth. She doesn't want to lose it. So
and guess
let's
what?
do this.
You did the best you could. You gave
Yeah.
her 100% of what you had to give that day.
Yeah.
And that's such a good point, because sometimes the ideal treatment is not always the best treatment.
Sometimes no treatment's the best treatment, right?
Right, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's true. That is true.
What do you one other question. I asked about, do you have to be proficient at all of dentistry before you can get into like invasive procedures like implants? Well, I'm going to ask it in a different way. Do you need to be proficient at dentistry, good at every aspect before you can be a practice owner? Or do you think you can be a good practice owner and a good manager and still learn good dentistry before you're there?
I think you need to be comfortable with most aspects of dentistry if you want to be a practice owner and keep most of your patients. You don't have to be really good at everything. I mean, there's doctors who literally have an office and all they do is fillings and refer everything out. So you don't have to know everything. That's why there's specialists. But if you want to retain and keep patients in-house who need different kind of work, yeah, I feel like you got to know some of it. And a lot of it, you learn on the go. I mean, back in the day, people, when they graduated dental school, the way to do it was to open your own shop, right? And they had to learn somehow.
Mm-hmm.
I just know a lot of our listeners are like us, and we're all entrepreneurs. We're all going to be business owners, and when is that time right? Or I think there's people waiting years before they're really good at dentistry, but then you have other people that Matthew and Daniel who own it and don't even practice there.
Well, that question makes me think of something that there was a guy that I graduated high school with, and it was when I was in college. He was at Tech with me as well, and me and Samantha and him and his wife went out to eat one night, and we were talking about they had 2 kids already, I think it was, and I was like, man, I was like, how is it? Tell me about what all you went through, and 2 kids, that's wild. How do you know you're ready? How'd you plan for it? And he's like, you're never really going to be ready. So that's kind of something that sort of sticks with me. Now, that's not to everybody's, some people just don't want to own. But
the ones that do.
The ones that do, yes. The ones that do, you're not going to be like 100% ready. It's like Dr. Moley kind of mentioned to us about like the being 70% ready versus being 90% ready. Like you don't wait till you're almost 100% like ready because that's going to be too late.
Oh yeah, just
So
get the
You can never be completely ready.
Right.
Get the ground rules, like get the basics down and maybe a little more, but then go with it. And you're smart enough at that point, you're going to figure it out, and the stuff that you don't know, you'll either get advice from or somebody will show you. I mean, you'll figure it out along the way. But like, you're right. If you wait until you think you're 100% ready, you're never going to start.
Yeah.
Because you're never going to know every single thing.
Somewhere there was a statistic that I think either someone told us or I read somewhere or whatever, but it was like and this isn't like 100%, everyone's scenario, but it was like a statistic that if you don't own, was it me? Was it Joe? Did I talk to you about this or something? Like if you don't own within a certain amount of time, like the chances of you owning.
You told me that. I don't know if you told anybody else, but I remember you talking to me about that.
Am I just dreaming that or did I?
Yeah, I think I've had the discussion as well.
Okay. But there's like, the point of that is like, if it's in your heart, like you want to own, like you're just passionate, you've got that entrepreneurial mindset.
Exactly.
Don't wait.
Exactly. I think that question's kind of a little bit more complicated because there's a lot of factors into it. So I think it's personal. Each and every person has to decide whether they're comfortable and confident enough to go out and be an owner. Are you talking like right out of school, or are you talking
I'm
like
just saying
a
in
year
general.
after school?
I'm saying, whether you're right after, a year after, 2, 5, 10, depending on the person. When is that line? When does that time come where you're good enough at dentistry? And because some
Well,
people might
I
just
think
waiting to be
I
good.
think it's personal. Well, skills wise, I think it depends on like your confidence in yourself and what your experience was in dental school. Like some people coming out of dental school feel comfortable enough to have their own practice and be the general doctor and be the only doctor. Not many people do, but some do. But how are you going straight from school into buying a practice? So it's not just wanting to do it. It's like there's financial issues. You have loans. Who's going to give you a loan? Do you have money? Are you going in with your dad who's going to give you the practice and let you run the show? Skills wise, I think it's just personal. Depends on you, like what your experience was and your confidence. Like I feel like I would have been confident enough to go into an office and be by myself. But I think there's more factors. At the end of the day, skills wise, I think that's just personal in your confidence and how you feel about it.
Yeah,
Yep.
I agree.
Doesn't matter how long.
I knew there were certain things that I wanted to get comfortable with in practice, but I also knew it wasn't going to take me long to iron out what I needed to get ironed out. And I think, like right now, if I had to go sink or swim on my own, I'd be fine. I don't know everything, but
and a lot of that has to do with the staff too.
You don't need to.
Yeah.
Like, and I think probably to answer your question even more, like not necessarily even the clinical side of it. If you've got a good staff,
A
as long
good
as you're
staff's
doing-
going to make you or break you.
yeah.
If you walked in tomorrow and your assistant wasn't there, could you do dentistry, John Wesley?
It'd be a struggle.
I don't know. I couldn't get the handpiece out.
It would be a struggle.
I could not do it.
I wouldn't know where to grab. Where's this material at? Because it's normally just waiting here for me. Where's this at?
Well,
it'd be
I'm
tough.
probably going to butcher this, but I'll bring this up since you asked this, Joe. If you remember, I think it was Dr. Kirk, the Business of Dentistry. He had a guy on. I think it was Chad Williams. Is that right?
Yeah, Chad.
And I think he was telling the story. If I may be telling, don't quote me on this, but he was saying where maybe the practice that he's at now, he came in as an associate, and I guess he was going to be an associate for a while with the doc, maybe kind of learn from him and whatnot. And all of a sudden, I think he came in one day and the doctor wasn't there, and the staff said he's gone. So that's it could always be worse. So,
Man.
So yeah,
There's something to be said about being your own boss and coming into the office and doing things the way you think it should be done.
Yeah.
yes.
To me, it's not even about being
It's
my
not
own
for
boss.
everybody.
It's as much about creating something, creating something that's yours. Having pride in an office that you were able to be part in, and making that.
That's right.
Awkward silence.
Oh man, hear the crickets.
Y'all got any funny stories from this week? Last couple weeks?
Don't stare into the eclipse. That's all I know. That's all I heard my son talk about. Without glasses.
Oh man.
Well,
Specific glasses.
I don't have a funny story, but I do have a little pearl to give out. So if any of the listeners out there, which I'm assuming 90% of people probably watch Netflix. I'm a big Netflix watcher myself. And so my cousin, I want to give my cousin a shout out, Cody Webb. He introduced me to a show called Turn, Washington Spies. Have you guys seen that or heard of that?
No, I've never heard
It's a
of
show that first aired on AMC, but it's on Netflix now. So if you watch Netflix, and you like drama kind of series, sort of colonial stuff, like this is an excellent series to watch. So
I just
I heard
started
about
watching Dexter, and it's pretty good. So I
Dexter's
recommend
Laboratory?
that. No, just Dexter.
Well, the,
It's kind of morbid,
the other
but
night-
it's very good though.
the other night, John, talking about colonials,
John Wesley.
we went to bed and Tori fell asleep. And, I had one of the all-time greatest movies on, and I was watching it. It's called The Patriot. You ever seen The Patriot?
Oh yeah, Mel Gibson.
Mel Gibson.
Yep.
Man, that hatchet scene.
Yeah, one of the
Oh,
all-time
man.
greatest. Yeah. So I had the volume turned up pretty loud, and Tori was trying to go to sleep.
I thought you were talking about Noah.
That killer face.
Whacking baby.
Oh man. That movie was terrible. Oh.
So unbiblical.
Yeah.
No. But watch The Patriot. You just reminded me of it because you were talking about the turn, right?
yeah,
it's
turn.
kind of like that.
Scotty, you got any shout outs or comments?
I think I've talked about pretty much everything that's happened this week.
Y'all want to give a shout out to anybody? You got nobody you impressed.
All right, yeah. So we need to give a shout out to is it Taylor Squires? Is that right? The blog.
That's right.
Yeah, man, Taylor, awesome work, dude. We appreciate it.
Taylor up in Buffalo. Big shout out
Thanks,
to you,
Taylor.
man.
What is
That's
that?
right,
The mouthing off?
Yep.
Yeah, that was great.
Taylor's doing
Yeah,
some big
we
things.
appreciate it, man.
You guys need to go follow Taylor on Instagram.
Yeah, it's huge. We've actually got like 112 retweets on that article, like posting that. So that's awesome stuff, man.
Yeah.
Awesome stuff.
I'm not on the Twitter world, or what do you call it? The Twitter verse.
The Twitterverse, yeah.
Yeah, I don't verse with the Twitter, but is that a lot of tweets?
That's quite a few, I think. Quite a few. Oh man. Well, guys, this is.
I want to give a shout out to Tiger Savarov. He's a great guy.
Oh,
Tiger?
Tiger. Oh, Tiger, man.
I still gotta meet him. I haven't met him yet.
Oh gosh.
You never met him, have you, Lou? Is that what you said?
I'm going to the beach.
Mm.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, man.
All right, guys. Well,
Rasta
it's been a ton of fun. I look forward to this every week.
I wish I was on the beach.
All right, guys.
I might drive to the beach tomorrow. Tomorrow I'm off.
All
Wish
right,
I was a
Scotty.
Blanchard.
Hey, Scotty. Can I close it out real quick?
All right, John.
All right. Hey, Lou, you're gonna have to do a lot of editing on this one. So.
Yeah, it was all in the end.
That's right, yeah. All right, guys. Well, thank you all for tuning in to the episode today. Don't forget to follow our journey through Life and Dentistry on social media. You can find us on Facebook and Instagram at Life and Dentistry, and on Twitter at Life and Dent. And also, make sure you're checking out the YouTube page to see all the behind the scenes and a lot of stuff that Joe's putting up on the green screen. He's so proud of. You need to make sure you check it out. So, also, if you have any questions for us, you can send us an email to lifeanddentistry@gmail.com. And also be sure to head over to our reviews and ratings page on iTunes and let us know how we're doing. Again, thank you all for tuning into the show. And with that, catch you next time.
Wear your eclipse glasses.
See y'all.
Hey!
Go Bucks.
Go Bucks. Hey, Winston played tonight.
Football is coming.
The Dental Podcast, where real people, real stories, and real life come together.
This is the Life and Dentistry Podcast.